diving into some of the questions pertaining to some of the topics tonight? Okay. So, and again, these questions have been forwarded to the planning board as well, and tried our best to make this as all-inclusive as possible. Did get an extensive number of emails since Monday regarding questions for topics to be discussed this evening. Some of them I think have been answered, but again, just to do our due diligence and for full transparency, I want to try to get through these as much as possible. First series of questions regarding the setbacks was, why does the town council want to allow larger homes built closer together, resulting in more rentals to more people, while considering sewer capacity concerns? And given the already overburdened water sanitation system, why is it appropriate at this time to consider amendments to zoning ordinances that will materially increase development in the town that will exacerbate that problem? And I wonder if anyone on the council has any comments to any of these questions, but I will just start off by saying we had a great presentation from the town engineering department and hearing from the public extensively on their concerns. I know, Mr. Durkin, I believe you've already visited with one of the residents who came with that same concern. But I fully support the updating of our sewer line, the wastewater treatment, to address these concerns, and I certainly wouldn't want to vote in favor of anything that will over-exacerbate the problem. So I think, you know, we've got to rely on our town experts to provide us with those recommendations. And I just wonder if anyone, in regards to building larger homes, again, I think I've already spoken my point of view. I don't want to develop. I would not be in favor of building up. But then, again, I'm just curious if anyone on the council has any questions or comments on that.
You want to comment on the question, on that one question?
No, I'm going through the series of questions that were submitted to the town council, which were also shared to the planning board. But most of these questions are asking for the town council's point of view. Yeah. This is part of building that rationale as to why are we doing this.
I would just begin by saying that to assume that we want to build larger homes, build them closer together, resulting in more rental to more people, is basically saying that you know what we're thinking and where we're coming from. And quite honestly, what we want to do is we want to look at all these proposals, and we want to look at ways that we could work together collaboratively to try to streamline things, to try to make things better for residents. And that's, I think, what our goal is. I don't believe our goal is to build larger homes closer together and while considering, you know, not considering sewer capacity. I don't think that that's what we're doing, so I disagree with the question right off the top. I'd be more than happy to sit down and talk about why I feel it's important for the town of Narragansett to be able to look at these things and try to move forward and address some of those things, but that's not what I want to do. I want to make affordable housing for residents. I want seniors to be able to stay in pace, and all the things that I said up front is what I want to do. That's not what I want to do.
Anyone else have any comments on that before moving into sewer and water-related concerns?
I will also say that the question is kind of self-deterministic in that it immediately means that rentals will be benefiting from this. You know, we've heard some proposals and solutions tonight. I think to Mr. Friday raised this earlier, that, you know, we might be able to look at potentially bumping out or find the current setback, or finding a more reasonable percentage that we could allow people to expand their houses by, since, you know, the state allowed us to increase property or setbacks by 15%. You know, up to 15% or whatever the exact verbiage is. Maybe we can find a reasonable percentage that works for Narragansett.
Thank you. And some of these questions are related to sewer and water. Do you not care that the increased number of persons in a dwelling will further impact our already strained sewage and water systems? Referring to the August 4th meeting of the town council, the town engineer stated that the increase in density will impact sewer service, and the town engineer said that the increase in density was factored into the plan. Will the cost for upgrades to the sewer plant and pumping station be shared by sewer customers only, or the whole town, sewer and septic homes? Same for the expansion. Will that cost be paid by those beneficiaries of the expansion or the whole town in our taxes? And John, our town engineer, was so gracious to provide us with an explanation on this and stated that no general tax funds are used for sewer. All wastewater cost expenses are paid from the Wastewater Enterprise Fund, which is financed by user fees and user assessments. New assessments are applied to the beneficiaries for sewer expansion projects. And in additional, as far as the expansion plan for sewers, will existing septic homes be prioritized for connection before new added density customers? And his response to that was, existing septic homes with frontage to town sewers have access by right to connect. Major expansion projects must be approved by beneficiaries and would be driven by specific property owners in the proposed expanded service area. Note, ADUs are accessory to the main use by definition and cannot be considered as an additional connection. Therefore, ADUs have sewer access by right, where the existing dwelling is connected has sewer frontage. Other increased density may be limited by sewer policy, section 2.d, states that permits will be issued on a one permit per unit basis with no more than one permit issued per platted lot. And as I continue here, aren't you happy you waited this long to hear some sewer-related commentary? Next topic of conversation was affordable housing. How do these amendments promote affordable housing as defined under Rhode Island state law? And again, I'd love to turn over the commentary to the rest of the council here. But again, initially I shared my perspective about the importance of being able to, recognizing I think it was unanimously agreed upon how horrible of a housing market that we have, that the essence of affordability doesn't exist here, certainly doesn't exist here, it doesn't exist anywhere. And it's an ongoing challenge that the town council, the planning board, has consistently been working to address. We have an amazing affordable housing trust collaborative, affordable housing committee, who's dedicated to these services. I think and would recommend that maybe some of those individuals on those committees could provide us with their perspective on some of the ordinances as well. I think it sounds like there's a great amount of dialogue and collaboration that's going to be had again and continue to have between the planning board and the town council to work through some of these ordinances if any changes were to be proposed. But at least that's where I'm coming from. It's that affordable housing, it's the matter in which, the lens in which we're viewing. And I've already asked in previous meetings with the state to provide us with a model of what affordable housing looks like here in Narragansett. Because you go to any city or town and they will say that they're arguing in favor of affordable housing. The justification for this decision or that decision is affordable housing. Well, how about we get some additional guidance from the state? We'll start with the recommendations from some of our local committees as well. But I think it's really important to get this kind of clarity from the state as to what affordable housing looks like here in Narragansett as opposed to other cities and towns. Because again, a lot of the times we hear, oh, well, they're not doing that in Newport, or they're not doing that in Tiverton or Providence. But we're not any of those cities or towns. We're all unique. We're all unique cities and towns. That's why we have an elected body here in Narragansett. But this is a uniting issue in the state, and it affects all of us. And the demand isn't going anywhere. Regardless of whatever restrictions we're putting on or lessening, the demand for affordable housing is very real, and it's not going to be dissolved overnight, and it's not going to be solved by any of us sitting here. But we can certainly do our best to try to promote that vision moving forward. So at least that's where I'm coming from in regards to affordable housing. I don't know if anyone on the council has any other comments on that before
I
moving
just
forward.
think that it needs to be understood that we are looking through the lens of affordable housing as we are reviewing these. And I think one of the things that we've already done was when we did the ADUs, we said it had to be a full-time rental. I mean, it couldn't year-round rental. It could not be just a college seasonal and school year. It had to be so I think we're looking at it through the lens, and I think we're trying to do what we can to help with the affordable housing, and I think that that's the goal, and I can't speak for everyone, but I think I know this council really well, and I think that's the goal of all of us, to look at these ordinances through the lens of what we can do to promote and help. It may be baby steps. They may be really small, but we're going to try to do what we can.
Can I ask?
Sure.
When is the council going to send the ADU to us so we can get it right back to you?
The what, the ADU?
Yeah.
That was approved.
No, that was approved. I'm sorry. I was out
Chapter
of town.
1137.
Yeah, I was out of town. I wasn't here.
Yeah, I was like, I assumed I was
No,
reading a
no, I wasn't here.
approved
I
version.
wasn't here, and I
No, that's all right.
apologize.
This came directly from Ms. Sabo, so
Yeah.
I
No, I
appreciate
wasn't
that
here.
reference. Nope, that's all right.
I
Yeah, Chapter
apologize.
1137 seems
leave for
to
a month and the world
seems
changes.
to-
It's like,
se-
what the-
Well, you sneeze and everything becomes different overnight. So appreciate that question, though. And again, I'm looking at both sides, so just hit the button and interrupt me if if you need to answer anything. And this is in regards to wetlands. I think we've very thoroughly reviewed this concept. I think the questions that have been asked, is your goal that wetlands and coastal buffers be ignored? No. We live a few hundred feet from a main line, but our 2 streets were skipped on Meadows Lane. Some of the homes on our street border freshwater wetlands. Will we have priority over increased density for sewer hookup? I actually don't have an explanation on that.
It's near Wandsworth. It's like near Stop and Shop. It's in that area. Yeah, it's west of 108. So I believe it's part of the SAMP area. So if they want sewer, they're going to have to apply. The town will have to apply with them for a variance from the SAMP plan from CRMC to get a sewer extension down their road. It was part of the old sewer plan because everything was. I don't know whether or not it was in the new one. It was a long plan.
I heard Wandsworth in the new one.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it definitely could be. It probably should be. I know it's going to take, to get a sewer west of 108 is a long process. So.
And then in regards to the 5 unrelated, that's already on our books. It's been codified. And then there was a question submitted in regards to state law, given that the planning board in the past has already rendered its opinion that the current zoning ordinances comply with state law. What is the legal support for the statements that these amendments are required to comply with Rhode Island state law? And the only, again, I think we've visited a lot of this topic of conversation this evening. But one thing, at least from what's been, from my perspective, is we are in compliance with state law, but there are ways, perhaps, in which we can be more in line with state law, or there are ways in which we can better address some of the concerns within our community based on feedback received this evening. But again, nothing at this point has been proposed as an amendment. This was just a really terrific conversation that I value, and I hope the residents do as well. And because I certainly learned a lot tonight, and I hope the planning board kind of knows a little bit more about who we are, even though I feel like I may have inadvertently, next time someone steal the mic from me, may talk too much on a lot of these things.
So I can jump in on the state law.
Yep,
one
go
first.
ahead.
I think that you're right, that when I look at it, I want to see a little bit more alignment with the state law, because there's a lot of good reasons for that. We're looking for money from the state, we're looking for money from the federal government, and I feel like if we have a better relationship with them, that we would benefit financially from that.
Thank you. And I think I just want to quickly read, because this one came in the last minute at the time in which I was printing these, and I do apologize that I'm sure that there were additional questions that came in after the time in which all of this was compiled and shared with the planning board. If your question or answers to your questions were not addressed during tonight's meeting, I recommend that members of the town council do whatever they can to assist or work with Jim Tierney and Ms. Sabo to put them into contact with those individuals who can best provide those answers. And I believe I would be remiss if after all this time I didn't recognize everyone here for their service and the amount of time that you've provided. Wayne, I do see you over there. Is there, and I know you're not sitting up here, but is there anything additional that you could provide us with any context for the topics of conversation that were shared this evening? I know, you're not at the microphone, so I would invite you up if you would like to say anything, or if you're satisfied with the discussion this evening, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Again, really appreciate it, Wayne, John, Ms. Sabo, the whole planning board for your cooperation, as well as our solicitors, clerk, town manager, and town council for their cooperation, and the participation from the public. Please keep sending your questions. Again, if we did not answer your questions, please continue to send them. We'll try to figure out the best way to streamline getting those answers to you. We do get a lot of emails, and I do apologize to some of the members of the planning board that there was 7 or 8 emails in a response, and I opened up one of those 8 in a chain and thought that I had read all of them. I'm learning this process. So again, really appreciate everyone's time, and I hope you have a great evening.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, yep.
before we close this, I had some that were sent to me that I know weren't sent
Sure.
to anybody else, and a lot of these, like you, I printed them up on the way, and I do not advise splitting a screen on your phone. It's
No.
just not with my eyes. I'm trying to summarize these, and I'm also trying to take emotion out of these. They're very emotionally filled. There were infrastructure questions where if we're going to larger homes, more bedrooms? Is there consideration to the impacts on our present infrastructure and what that could do? Also, effects on affordable housing. How does larger homes equate to affordable and not rental? There were a number of questions on council explaining state compliance. I think you stated that we are in compliance, and I thank you for that. How long realistically will the fix of the infrastructure take? How is the proposed zoning changes would affect the system in the interim? Long term, I can tell you, and it didn't mention that night, but I praised the consultants in Wayne, John, they actually took state law into consideration as far as looking at the future. Can upgrades plans be fully account for the increased demands that would result in zoning amendments? Again, trying to filter out the emotions here. Expression that the planning board, the town council and planning board's time would be better taken looking at affordable housing, contaminated water, and issues, sewer capacities, rather than this state law compliance. There is a...
Yeah, I tried to do a lot. I had a lot of the same questions,
Yeah.
which I tried to put into one workable
trying
document.
to take the emotion out.
Yeah.
There were a number of questions here on, I apologize, Councilor Durkin, because there are too many to not, Councilor Durkin's participation in this discussion based on ethics. There's also a full, lastly, in interest of full transparency, I believe it's important for any and all councilors to identify personally or professionally, would they gain directly or indirectly from any of the passages of these. There is...
And can I just make a comment on that?
Yeah.
In regards to the ethical interpretation from residents, ourselves, Mr. Brady, you and I both sat in this room, and you asked the question to the Ethics Commission.
I did.
And I heard an answer that I'm sure you didn't like, because it's not the answer that any
I know what they, I don't
it's
ask
not the-
questions unless I know the answer.
Well, it was interesting to hear, because it was the question of if there's anyone on any elected body present that thought that there might be an ethical violation of participating in a conversation or a vote, that we do in fact not have the right to prevent any one individual from participating or from participating in the vote. And this was in this room that was shared. Regardless of however I feel or however residents feel, it's every one of our duties, our responsibilities to evaluate what we believe is acting in an ethical manner. That the reason why we have an ethics commission is because they are the ones not associated with party. They are the ones that provide the final say as to whether or not any one individual or elected body is acting in an ethical manner. And I know that's not an answer that a lot of people appreciate. It's just that's the structure of review that we find ourselves here in the state of Rhode Island.
So, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think most of these other questions aren't relevant to tonight, so we'd hold them back.
Yes, there is a lot related to rentals, which will be covered at a later time. So again, I really appreciate your time and your cooperation and the respect genuinely shared in this room and across the aisle, and I hope that this will continue, and I will advocate for that moving forward. And I want to adjourn, but I think we're good at 9:20 p.m. Have a great night, everyone.